We play games to take a step away from reality, to unwind after a long day, to take a deep breath in and exhale. It puts us into an imaginary world that seems so close, while in the back of our mind being fully aware of its fictitiousness. Even though we are walking on the line between imagination and reality while playing, at the end of it all, we always fall off that line back into the real world. But 13 years ago, game developers at Jakks Pacific Incorporated asked themselves a question: what happens when the player falls the other way? They released a game, Kash. Over the following years, this game would see more than just controversy. It would see scandals, murders, spirits rising from Earth, and everything you could imagine. All from this little orange box that we call Kash. The year is 2004. Jakks Pacific had strung together a series of successful products. Some were toys, some were action figures, but the most successful products they had released had to be from their plug-and-play series. The concept was really simple. They gave you a box with a little more than a joystick and a couple of buttons on the top, which plugged straight into the TV and came with some built-in games. Its success largely came from its ease of use and affordability. You could purchase several of these for your children and not be set back too much. Speaking of children, that's without a doubt who Jakks' target audience was with these systems. They featured characters from many popular children's television shows and movies at the time. These plug-and-play systems were made to be nothing more than a quick and easy way to earn money, while satisfying the wants and desires of thousands of kids across the United States. But one game developer took things a little too far. Jakks hired a young man named Jorge Lapuz. His first project was to design the last of 5 games that would be released on an upcoming Nicktoons plug-and-play collection. It already had 4 games from various Nickelodeon series, including an obscure one called SpongeBob SquarePants. But Jorge knew that the SpongeBob show had massive potential, and he wanted to create a game about the show that would keep the player not just engrossed in the game, but forget how to stop playing it. One day, he walked into his office to begin programming the game. He emerged from his office 3 days later with a game. Not just any game. This game tested all parts of the player's abilities: reaction speed, determination, persistence, guts, and patience. It was the perfectly constructed game, built by a perfectly constructed man. That game's name is Kash. On the surface, Kash seemed to be a simple game. It was, in fact, a board game made into a video game. You play on a map of Bikini Bottom that has 12 stops. You and the computer each get assigned 6 of them. You roll the dice, each going back and forth, zooming across the map to stop at each place. You go from places as innocent as Mrs. Puff's house or the ice cream shop, to the dangerous dwellings at the South Bus Stop or the Snail Wash. Make one false move, and your opponent will slip ahead. Along the way, you're trying to steal as much cash as you can, for you see, Mr. Krabs has roped SpongeBob and Scooter into the mob's money laundering scheme. Whoever can collect the cash, stop at all 6 stops, and then return to Mr. Krabs' office at the Krusty Krab will have their lives saved. As for the remaining character, extermination. As soon as the game released, it was a hit. More than a hit. Immediately, there were tournaments, worldwide television coverage, and even songs released about it. Sports faded away, while Kash rose above. Super Bowl Sunday was replaced with Kash Sunday. The World Series was now the World Series of Kash. Instead of getting 25,000 people to see a basketball game, there would be 200,000 packed into a stadium to watch the finals of the Kash tournament, with millions watching across the country on TV to see who would be able to deliver the cash back to the boss himself, Mr. Krabs. Naturally, with all this excitement, there was a complete breakdown of society as we knew it. As Mr. Krabs grew richer and richer, he gave his money to the man who made him rich, Jorge Lapuz. Schools shut down, and unemployment grew to over 50%, as everywhere, everybody just wanted to watch or play Kash. Jakks Pacific grew a monopoly over every business ever in existence, and every employee became billionaires instantly. As for the man himself, Jorge Lapuz, he became the world's first trillionaire, assuming a net worth of over $6.5 trillion. Then, the widespread hunger began. With nobody working, crops around the world died. Access to clean water grew scarce, and nobody could find any. Nobody could afford to buy anything. Society was breaking apart. So the government did what it had to do. On June 31st, 2005, the 28th Amendment was passed. The manufacturing, selling, or playing of cash dash was prohibited, punishable by life in prison. Jorge went to jail for life, but after just 1 week in jail, he hung himself, and rose to the skies as the god of cash dash. He wanted his revenge on the world, but was too ashamed of himself to get it. So he went back in time to the day the game was released, and made every copy of it vanish. So now, we were all living in an alternate timeline. Cash dash had never existed, and the world went on as it usually did. Jorge thought that he had taken every copy of the game from existence, but it turns out he left one behind. He left one for one person, who he thought was worthy to salvage the game. That person's name? Summoning Salt. August 10th, 2016. I was about to clean out a cabinet in my house that I hadn't opened in years, but when I opened it, I saw something I had never seen before. After reading this note, I was naturally a bit suspicious. After all, who knows if someone was just playing a trick on me or something. But after plugging the game in and turning it on, Jorge delivered this message personally to me.
My name is Jorge Lupus. It is you that I choose. To beat this game fast. To save the world at last. How fast, you do ask? Well, here is your task. Beat it in sub 140. P.S. Your name is really dorky.
It was then I knew what I had to do. If I wanted to save our planet's reputation, erase years of false memories, and give the citizens of our world what they deserved, I was going to have to do it. I needed to conquer the game that conquered the lives of millions just a few years prior. I needed to get the world record in cash dash. So I set off on my quest. The next few months of my life were focused entirely on just getting good at the game. I quickly discovered the challenges I would have to overcome. The joystick that Jorge gave me was incredibly stiff, and getting it to move just where I wanted to was sometimes nearly impossible. He didn't want to make my journey too easy. The randomness with the places I needed to stop was brutal. You see, I started off each run by blindly heading south, and hoping that I had all three stops at the bottom. The bubble stand, the south bus stop, and the snail wash. Having all three of these was incredibly rare. From there, I had to guess where my other pieces were. Hopefully they would all be near each other. That way I could collect them all more quickly, without needing to travel all the way up across the board to the top. What was ideal was when all 6 would just line up in a straight line, but nearly every run, there'd be at least one that was far off in the corner somewhere. Finally though, I was able to complete my first run, 2 minutes and 52 seconds. But still, it was so far away from that sub 140. How is it going to be possible to take off that much time? I did lower it by a few more seconds, but there had to be something I was missing still. But then, I found it. The fanfare skip. Normally, whenever you open a treasure chest, or stop at a stop, you have to wait until you count all your money until you can progress. If you get only $1, it's not too bad. If you get 5 or even 10, you have to wait for this. One day though, I found a way around that. If, while you're counting your money, you tap B to look at the map, then tap B again to get off the world map, and then mash A, you'll be able to break out of it instantly and continue on with the game right away. Using this on every fanfare in the game would save you about a minute total. This was what Jorge Lupus was keeping a secret from me, but I had outsmarted him. Armed with this strategy, I got back to work, and the next months were miserable. I had everything I needed to beat the 140, but it was more than just a battle of execution. It was a war of mental sanity. I went days without sleeping. My eyes became bloodshot. I would lock myself in a room and not come out for days. I stopped eating, I stopped drinking, I practically stopped living. But I slowly closed in on the record. And on January 29th, 2017, the stars aligned. The placement was there. The execution was there. The past 2 years of my life were all coming to a close on this one run. I could feel Jorge Lapuz watching down on me as I navigated around the board. As I went by the 6th stop, there was just one thing stopping me from saving the world. I had to get back to the Krusty Krab.
One more. Yes! It's dead. Killed it. Killed the game.
So Jorge did what he promised. Every copy of Cash Dash was put back, whether it be tucked into a cabinet of a house or in the back of a retail store where nobody could look anymore. They're all still there today, so I advise you to look wherever you are, since you might stumble upon one of the most legendary pieces of human history. If not, then take a look on Amazon or eBay, where I'm sure you could pick it up for cheap. But I warn you to not get too addicted to it, because we don't want Jorge's creation to take over the world again, right? My friends, that's the story of Cash Dash. Thanks for watching.